Right, I think we're on something here. I'm going to use the spares from the Rhino, some shields from God only knows what, and I think it's a missile holder from one of the scenery parts. But I'm going to turn that into a spinning drum of death blades to replace the plague spitters, which I don't like. I cut the shields in relatively the same place, so I've got two different sets of blades, and I don't know if it'll show up. Pencil marked a spiral on there because although you want it to look messy, if you don't put it in some sort of order, I bet it looks wrong. I've noticed the blades I'm going to use have curvature that is the opposite curvature to the cylinder, so I'm actually going to saw in little slots for them to go in, because if I just glue them, I don't think it'll last that long. So there we go, a spiral of saw cuts. Each one of them will have a blade in it, the larger ones, and we'll see where it goes from there. And like my last video, I'm going to try and not forget to do the parts in between. I've cut the shields in a very specific way, all the same. I've lined them up in the same angles because I want the same twist, so it looks like they're meant to be there, if that makes sense, a bit like a propeller. Sure, Nurgle's messy, but in general there will still be some sort of order in the madness, and I want them to look officially like they're meant to be there, even if they are twisted a little bit. So keep them all in order, so you can go around. It will be the larger one, smaller one, larger one, smaller one, all the way around. Not gonna lie, half-assed by name, half-assed by nature, but then I do this so you can learn from my mistakes. I should have planned it a little bit better. I think it does what I want it to, but in my rush I should have made the cuts neater, perhaps spaced it out a bit better, but it does spiral if you look. Might look better when it's painted, but if you want to copy this, just do a better job. That's why I'm here, to make the mistakes so you don't have to, but that's alright. I might add a few extras in between, but it does spiral. It might look better when painted. Just a quick update again, I forgot all about the videoing bit. I'm just undercoating Abaddon black to put the silver on and stuff, but that's where I got to. I put a little pin there, a little extra pin in there, and that's where we are at the moment. This is where we are now. Black base, heavy Leadbelcher dry brush, and a bit of green thrown in there for good measure. No null oil on that or anything, so that's really basic. But before I move on, what I'm going to do is strip these wires and have like a wire entanglement. I think it needs just a little bit more. Hopefully that'll add to it. I'll use the old burn and strip because it's quicker. Melt it and pull it off. So that sounded well dodge. How to strip wires quickly. Melt it, get it so it's very hot. And keep doing that. See that as it zooms in. So here we are, 2 coats of camo shade. Obviously that's going to be heavily dry brushed out, but I really wanted to get the recesses showing, so that's that done. The blade's coming along nicely now. I'm going to Necron compound the blade edges, and then I'm going to rust it up with Astro Granite, then mud and oranges to try and make the edges and corners look rusty. So that will then be done. If you look close, that's the wires that are stripped in the previous clip. And then on we go to the engines. Just a quick note about anything that I do metallic, I always undercoat it black. In the guides and stuff it says Leadbelcher, then heavy null oil. I look at some of the pictures from Games Workshop and heavy metal and all that stuff. That silver they do can't just be Leadbelcher and null oil because it looks too interesting and layered. So I go with black, and then I really heavily dry brush it with Leadbelcher, so the black just slightly shows through in the indentations and stuff. I'll show you on the next clip when I do it, but I'm not convinced that some of the pictures you see in the magazine are just null oil over Leadbelcher, unless I'm doing something wrong. Right, there's the scheme. Death Guard green, Arsonian camo shade, heavy Ogrin dry brush, light Ushabti bone dry brush, and you get an effect like this. It's okay. I'm happy with it, more happy already than the last one. I think I went a bit too far with the bone on the last one. I like the look of that so far. So that's how I got that effect. And here We've now added the astro granite at the base of the blade and the corners where you'd think like movement would cause friction and oxidation, so that's going to be rusted up when it's dried, and that's where we are now. So we'll be going for a rusting effect using Tamiya's, is it red brown, mud brown? Red brown. It's not something I bought, that came with a job lot of stuff I bought, but so that's the bottom layer of the rust coming through. And as I was saying before, I really do approve of Abaddon black, then heavy dry brush rather than total lead belcher. I just think it looks better, but if you don't, that's fine as well, but that's where we are with those. When I do rust, it's anything but accurate, so orange, brown and dabbling all the way. Just dabble it on. Don't paint it on, you want it just to get the tops, and better to go back over and over than go too much in one go. A bit like dry brushing, but you want it stippled on, something like that, and then wait till that dries. And as you move forward, I will be mixing more of the orange in till finally I just do a very bright orange edging. That's the main bodies done. What I'll be doing is for the silver a mix of null and camo shade to give it a greeny oily texture. On the brass I will give it a Retributor armor highlight just where I think there wouldn't be wear, then Rakeland flesh shade, and then finally a dry brush of anywhere I think there'll be worn off bits for the bronze, so it looks like a really battered old bronze. This is the first time I'll be using, where is it, this oxide stuff. I've fancied it for a while, don't know how to use it. I assume you just put it on the cracks or where you think the bronze will be rotting, so that should be interesting. My plan is to put it where there's any cracks and have it dribble out, sort of thing. That's my plan for those anyway. Just a quick addition for my flesh scheme: Bugman's Glow, Raycast Flesh dry brush, Rakeland flesh shade, then quick shade red tone for an extra layer. I'll show you what I mean. Without the extra layer, that's what you would get, that's what the magazine would get you to anyway, but then I add an extra layer of detailing, just the red tone on any details you want to pop out. I just think that adds an extra dimension. That doesn't look too bad, but I like to add an extra level. It's time to marry up the blade with the drone, but as always my brain always thinks over and over, what if I magnetise this to fit on this nose cone thing, and then also magnetise the little slots on the side to have them crappy plague spitters, so you can have the choice. Do I do it? I don't know, let's see. I'd have to chop them off. I've got my little magnets. I don't know, I like the idea of changing that. You see, already my brain's wandering. This isn't good. This could go good or bad, so we'll see how it turns out. The deed is done. I will be sticking that on there. As always, it's a learning curve. If I'd have known I was doing this, I would have drilled that out and put it a recessed magnet, and the same on this side, but because I'd done my paint job I didn't want to mess around. So if you want to do this and copy it, just drill out and put the magnets flush so they don't look as protruding. But I'm not messing up my paint job or risking it just to do the magnets. So the half-arsery continues. I've milli-putted magnets into plague spitters. When they're dried, I'll see how I want to mount them on the sockets there with the other magnets. And I've started to green stuff the connectors to try and hide the magnets on this. As I said in the last clip, I would usually drill it out, but this was a last minute, let's do this. So there we go. Here we have the finished product, my full attempt at the bloat drone, next to my half-arsed attempt, which I quit on halfway down. And then after much fan backlash on the Facebook pages saying why do I not like this model, I thought I'll see if I can make it better myself. So this one's a much better attempt. The guns aren't painted simply because, as I said earlier in the video, I've made this chopper thing to go on the front, but I magnetised it so I could have the best of both worlds. So I haven't painted these blade spitters, but they just pop off like that, and the Bladey McBlade straight on the front, like that. There we go. Nice rusty effect. Some wires for like barbed wire looking thing. But I'm really happy with it. Still not my favourite model, but I give it 110%. And hopefully people will be like, yeah, you should have done that on the first one. But there we go, I'm quite happy with it. Again, the reason I stuck it on the nose bit, I was going to use these as like holders, but fans would know that they're plague spitters, and they would say it looked a bit more half-arsed than perhaps just sticking it on. But there we go. So that's my conversion with a Choppy McChop thing on the front. I'm happy with it overall. Far superior to this one that I quit on, I think. Alan in the background. So I think that's about it for this one. I will be painting these at a later date, just so I finish it off and I can switch between the two. But that's it. So if you like it, let me know in the comments. Like and share as usual. There you go.